Hey, mamas. How's everybody doing? I hope you are having a great day. Hey, wherever you are joining me at, I hope you're doing well. Give me some love in the comments. I'd love to know who is here, who is listening, why you're listening. Every month, I go live in the Brown Mamas community and talk and do office hours. I guess that's what we calling it now. These are office hours. And today's topic is knowing thy voice or knowing that voice, the difference between intuition and ego. And so our theme for the month has been know thyself. And so we kind of divided that into three different stages of like, how do you completely know yourself? And one of the things was by knowing your voice. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I have um, Yay. Can you tell me your name? Because it just says Facebook user, whomever just commented, it just says Facebook user. So I would love to just commune with you on this topic of knowing thy voice. But first, I just wanted to put in a little plug about the Brown Mama Monologues. If you are a mom from Pittsburgh, if you are a mom from Philly, if you are a mom from the DMV, if you are a mom from Facebook, what's up, Natasha? If you are a mom from Ohio, if you are a mom from Detroit, Jersey, we want to hear from you. There is an opportunity to audition for the Brown Mama Monologues coming up, but first you have to submit a virtual audition. So I'm going to put the link in the comments if you are interested in auditioning for the Brown Mama Monologues. If you have a story to tell, if you know one of your main purposes on earth is to be a storyteller, is to be a speaker, and you have something to talk about, please tell us your story. Tell us more. Visit the link and learn more about auditioning for the Brown Mama Monologue. So, just breathing. Moment of transparency. This is actually very palpable for me. We came up with this subject like a month ago, of know that voice, because I can't remember what the topic for this month was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be know that self, but it was supposed to be something else, and we changed it to know that self. And it's really interesting because I've been doing a meditation challenge with a friend, and we've been talking a lot about just tuning into your inner voice and how to know who is speaking to you. So it was really interesting. Our meditation expert that we used last month at our retreat gave us an exercise to do. And so I'm going to do that same exercise with y'all. Let me just find something that I can use really quickly to write something on. I'm going to do the same exercise with y'all, and that's how we're going to kick it off. So I just need you to pull up to the screen, make sure that you can see me because you're going to need to read something. So, first thing I want you to do is I want you to look at this piece of paper. I don't want you to say this word out loud. I just want you to say it to yourself in your mind. So, I want you to say that word to yourself in your mind. And then I want you to close your eyes and I want you to see if you can envision it in your mind's eye. So I'm going to put it up again. Say this word to yourself. Don't say it out loud. Just say it to yourself. And then I want you to close your eyes for just like 2 seconds and see if you can envision it. See if you can actually envision what's on this piece of paper. So, thanks to my girl Amy Joy, she taught me that trick. She's a meditation expert and she's actually been helping me through meditation. I'll tag her in case anybody else wants to meditate. So, and we actually did that at our Brown Mamas retreat last month. We had our first team retreat, which was really dope. And so we've just been talking a lot about during my meditation sessions, like how to get to know your inner voice. So the first question I'm going to ask you for everybody who came in and was able to do that quick exercise, who was that said that to you in your mind? So when you said the word joy in your mind, who was talking? And you can post in the comments and tell me who you think was talking. Who was that talking to you? And also thinking about the fact that no sound was required. You heard that. When you said the word joy to yourself in your mind, you heard it, right? You heard it. When you tried to envision the picture of joy, you saw it, but your eyes weren't required. Your ears weren't required. You didn't even need to feel it, but it was there. And so oftentimes, as we're going through life, we're so dependent on what is physical, what we can see. Somebody said myself, my memories, my feelings, my emotions. We're so focused in on what we can see. We're so focused in on what we can hear, what we can feel, we can touch, what we can taste, that we don't recognize that there is a part of us that exists outside of this physical existence. And that's your spirit. Your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, it exists without your senses. It doesn't even require your senses to acknowledge it for it to be real, because that was very real, right? You couldn't hear it, you couldn't see it. So, again, just if you just came in, I'm going to say this again. Look at this piece of paper, and I want you to say the word without speaking it with your mouth. Just say it in your mind's eye. And then I want you to look at this piece of paper, and I want you to close your eyes and just envision that it's there. And again, you didn't need anything to see that or to hear it. You heard it without anything physical. And so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, your inner voice, how to hear from it. What are the ways in which you become distracted from hearing it? And really, how can you live a life that I'm still learning? So don't ever take anything I say as like, oh, I'm the supreme expert on this, because I am not. I'm learning all of this. I will admit that I've been studying the intuition and ego for a very long time. It's something I'm very intentional about studying, because I love to study anything that has to do with spirituality, learning myself, understanding myself. And so the first thing I wanted to just talk about is why we can't hear ourselves, or why sometimes we may feel like no matter what we do, we're confused, or our minds are hazy, or we can't really get a pulse on what we really want out of life. It's like we know, but we don't know. So there are certain types of distractions that are happening in your life that cause you to not be able to hear yourself clearly. And most people are dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. And so most of those things have to do with a lot with the, mental health issues that we've been talking about lately in our community. But they're really mental distractions, because the mind, while a part of the mind is definitely you, it's your soul, it's your spirit, a large part of the mind is also your ego. And I describe the ego as being something that has two purposes, both having to do with your image, your self image. The first purpose of the ego is that it is consistently protecting you. It's protecting you from the things you're afraid of. It's protecting you from the things that you feel like might hurt you. It's protecting you from people. It's protecting you from change. So your ego's first job, in my opinion, is to protect you. And it's going to do that in a myriad of ways. It's going to do that first and foremost by arguing. That's why I always say the ego yells, the intuition whispers. Because what the ego is trying to do at any given moment throughout your day is it is trying to get your attention. It wants you to, it's trying to convince you that whatever thing you're trying to grasp, whatever you're trying to do, whatever emotion you're trying to tap into and feel is dangerous, and that there are side effects to it. It's the ego is a chess player. So it is looking at your future, what it perceives as your future, and it is looking at your past as a way to convince you that what it wants for you, which is oftentimes based on the outside world, is what's real. And the second thing your ego is doing is it is almost interplaying with your spirit. So it's also doing this thing of protecting your spirit. It is at any given moment talking to you about what your spirit wants and utilizing that as a catalyst to convince you about what the world wants. So the ego has this kind of dual function of playing intermediary between the world and your spirit. And it is constantly trying to pull your coattails. But oftentimes it is basing what its conversation with you on 6 real needs. And my girl Amy taught me these. So there are 6 needs of the ego: significance, certainty, variety, connection, growth, and contribution. So oftentimes your ego is utilizing fear and making you worry about your significance in the world. It may be making you worry about whether or not something is certain. It may be making you worry about whether or not you are bored or you have enough variety in your life. Are things changing enough for you to be happy? It can be focused on connection. It needs connection. It needs to feel like you are connected to something. And then it's also always concerned with your growth and with your contribution. The ego is not a bad thing, but the ego run amok can be very egotistical. Really, that's the best way to put it. It can only worry about what it needs and not necessarily be worried about what your spirit and your soul needs. And so you have to be very careful with the ego because its main job is image management. It is not concerned with what you really want in your life. It is more so concerned with fulfilling its own needs. And most of the time, those needs have a lot to do with how you relate to the outside world. Now, the intuition, on the other hand, is a little bit different. The intuition typically whispers because it doesn't need validation. The intuition is old. I always say it is an ancient creature. It doesn't need very much backing up. It has been around for a very long time. Your soul, your spirit is not new. We know now that we are human beings in a 3-dimensional reality, we are spirit beings having a human 3-dimensional experience. And so your spirit and your soul were here long before your physical body ever even really showed up. And so it doesn't need to convince of anything because it is connected to the oneness, to the source, to God, the Most High, whatever you want to call them, whatever feels good for your life. So it has a direct anchor to everything that is good for you. It knows what pays off. That's why I call the intuition the inner tuition. It knows what's going to pay off for your life. So when it talks to you, it tends to be much stiller. It tends to require some silence because it is a commanding voice. The intuition doesn't need to yell to be commanding because it is very firm. But it also has some needs that oftentimes are in conflict with the needs of your ego because it's not worried about the outside world. It's more so worried about the internal world. So your intuition needs some things too. It needs trust. That's why they say you have to trust yourself, because the less you trust yourself, the less you can hear your intuition, because the intuition is not going to try to convince you. It's not going to try to convince you. It's going to say, this is the thing. Either you're going to move on the thing or you're not. And if you're not, I'm going to be quiet because I already know what's right. The intuition also needs silence. The intuition is a product of your subconscious. So you have your conscious reality, which runs your day-to-day life. It is what helps you get your work done. It is what helps you get your kids to school. It is running all of those faculties that are necessary and needed on a day-to-day basis. I told you the ego has use, but your intuition is running in your subconscious. It is taking in everything that your ego is putting forth and putting in, And it is running it through, again, that ancient wisdom that it has, that oneness that it has with source energy. And it is running it through that. And it is actually, in my opinion, just my own experience, it is seeing into the realities of what the consciousness is doing. It is recognizing trends and patterns. It is calculating environmental factors and putting them against the backdrop of your purpose, and then outputting things. You know how sometimes it feels like you've done 12 different things, and then one day you're sitting there and you're like, that's how all those 12 things align. You had no idea while you were doing them how they were adding up to a total sum of whatever the thing is, but they do. That's how your intuition goes, because it's running in your subconscious, and you can hear that more clearly when you're silent. It needs emotional openness. Intuition cannot operate with a closed heart. You have to have an open heart, which means you have to be open to all of those fears of the ego. You have to be open to connection. You have to be open to growth, even though they might hurt you. So those things are going, and they are going to hurt you. If you desire to have any significance in your life, if you desire to be any person of importance, you're going to get hurt. If you know, desire connection, you're going to get hurt. Looking for certainty in life, there is no certainty in life. You're going to get hurt. Trying to make things concrete, trying to give your life stability. All of these things are going to cause you pain. But in order to hear your intuition, you have to enlarge your heart. You have to be open to pain. You have to be open to hurt, and be okay, not okay, because you're going to, you're going to go through the motions when you hurt. I know I do. So it's going to happen. But in order to hear your intuition clearly, you have to be open to the idea that, where does your mind play in all this? Okay, I'll go back. I'll go back for you, Facebook user. I'm not sure who that is. Your mind is the playing ground of your intuition and your ego. Your mind is almost like jelly, and your intuition and your ego are utilizing this space in order to operate in. That would require me to go much deeper. So your intuition needs your heart to be open. It needs your heart to be open. Okay, Beth, we can talk about that later. We're gonna meet, so we talk about that. Your intuition also needs affirmation. Like, it needs to be affirmed, which is why a lot of people will do visualizations, which is also on my list of things that the intuition needs, but it needs frequency alignment, basically. So the frequency alignment is the affirmation. When you say affirmations, what you are doing is you are aligning yourself with a frequency. If you understand us as human beings and how we operate, what we do, we are electrical creatures. Everything on the earth is part of an electromagnetic frequency. It's moving. Anything that's moving is creating electricity as it moves. Electricity is kind of like the currency of movement. Not currency, it's the production of movement. So anything that's moving has an electrical current in some way. And so human beings have an electrical current. And when we affirm, we're using our voice, our vibration within our voices to get into an alignment, into a frequency. And the intuition can then use that and hook it up with trust. There's a belief there in it. Some people call the intuition their Holy Spirit also, just in case there's some Christians on here who might be getting scared. So yeah, it's no different than you are aligned when you are listening to your intuition and you are affirming what your intuition believes, what your Holy Spirit believes, what your soul believes, whatever you want to call it. It is getting into frequency. It is getting into alignment with a frequency. And then your intuition also needs environmental coherence or harmony. It needs you to be at harmony with all that's happening around you. And that goes back to that part about having an open heart, about recognizing that everything that is happening for your greater good. And is actually happening for the greater good of God, which God is utilizing you, again, as a conduit for a frequency that he wants to manifest on this earth. And so that environmental coherence is really just about It's not necessarily about you forcing your life into alignment as much as it is about living in harmony with what's going on around you. Understanding that good, bad, or indifferent, everything is happening for your, it's for your greater good. And then your intuition also needs visualization. Visualization is probably one of the most powerful tools you have access to as a spiritual being having a human experience. It is a way to tap into the ancient wisdom of your soul. Because again, your soul has been here many times before, or in multiple dimensions many times before. When you die, your spirit and your soul, energy doesn't die. The body can decay. Energy does not die. That's why we believe in things like heaven, because we know that once this life is over, there's still another life. But when we go back to the paper, that life is available right now. Like, it's not going to all of a sudden become available when you die. No, it's here with you right now in the form of your intuition. It is that soul spirit connection to source energy that exists in you, regardless of whether you have a body or not. It is available for you to listen to. It is available for you to hear from. It is available for you to connect to. It is available for you to understand life through its gaze. And when you do that, you're able to tap into that ancient wisdom that comes with source energy, because source energy knows all, knows everything. And when you tap into that, when you get silent, when you open your heart, when you affirm that it is real, it actually has the power to help you manifest in your life. And so when we're talking about the difference between ego and intuition, what we're really talking about is how a person can mediate between what the world wants from them and what they know they're here to accomplish. One of the things that I've learned through numerology is that every soul has a contract. One of your larger goals here is to find out how source energy, what contract you made with source energy to come to this earth. Like, what was your God contract? This life is not a life that is given, it is a life that is earned, I believe. And so therefore there was a contract that I made to come here. What was the contract? What did it say? What did it read? You got to read the fine print. And you can do that in a myriad of ways. You can do that through meditation. You can do that through reading your Bible. You can do that through studying different spiritual systems. You can do that through getting quiet. You can do that through prayer. You can do that through affirmation. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. But the ego and the intuition, they're paired together for a reason. Like, they're not just like, it's a lot of people will look at the ego and be like, it's so bad. It's not bad. It has a very three-dimensional function: protection and ensuring that when something is wrong, you are able to see it. You are able to glean wisdom from it. You are able to, tap into what's on this earth. The bottom line is there has to be balance. There has to be balance between what you're feeding your ego and feeding your intuition in order to understand and actually take action on your contract on this earth, because everyone has one. And it's usually most aligned. Your contract is usually your gift. Whatever your gift is, like Steve Harvey always says, your gift will make room for you. Whatever your gift is, it's probably that thing that you do easiest without any effort. And you need to tap into your intuition in order to get clear on how that should manifest. Because everybody got gifts. I'm a great speaker. Maybe you're a barber. Maybe you're a baker. Maybe you are great at creating sewing, or whatever it is that you're really good at. But how you manifest it has to be unique, because you are a unique creation of the Lord, of God. You're not meant to be like everybody else, which is why things like competition and jealousy and envy are so harmful to the human spirit, because you literally are not meant to be like that person. You're meant to be whomever you're meant to be. And by tapping into your intuition is how you figure that out. Because if you don't check it, your ego will run amok. It will absolutely destroy your life, because it will be so focused on what's happening out there that you won't ever really get to see the real value of your contract, of your soul contract. You won't ever really get to see the real value of why you're here as a human being. So I'm just gonna give you all just some quick homework. I'm not gonna stay on long today. Um, but if you get a chance, just go on YouTube, find some meditation music, and just sit for 5 minutes. And just sit with yourself and kind of just figure out what is your soul trying to say to you right now. And it's probably not something, at least I find that when I'm listening to my intuition and it's talking to me, it's typically the simple things. It's typically something as simple as, are you choosing to see beauty today? Or are you choosing to see what's wrong? Because the intuition, the human mind couldn't handle the full story. It can only handle bits and pieces. If we were told the full story of our existence, we would probably go crazy. So it's going to talk to you in ways that you can understand, and it's also going to lead you down paths a little bit at a time. So if you get time today, take out some time and do that for yourself so that you can just get clear on begin to get clear on who you are and why you are, for real, for real. It's really more about why you are than it is about who you are, because the who can change at any given moment. So, all right, y'all, it was great talking to you. Just a reminder, we are in the midst of Brown Mama Monologue season. If you have a story to tell, if you are a mom who has a story that is hiding, and you know that it has the power to affect people, and you know that it's maybe unique, and you don't know very many people who've gone through this thing, right? It's time for you to maybe tell your story, especially if you're listening to this. If you're listening to this, then God is using me as a conduit to get a message to you. So, you know, go to the link, it's in the comments, and consider auditioning for the show because we'd love to have you. Our goal is always to showcase the complex, versatile beauty of Black motherhood in a celebration style production. So, all right, y'all, have a great day. If you didn't get to listen, if you're just now joining in, you can always rewind. All right, peace.